And welcome back to How Are You Now?
How are you now?
Good, and you?
Not so bad.
This is Dean.
This is Tiara.
And we are here today with Curtis. Curtis, how are you now?
Yeah, doing all right.
All right. So,
Deadly.
Curtis, deadly. So Curtis, before we get started, like we usually like to do, is we like to find out about our friends, our other D-gens out there.
I love that one in the Facebook poll, by the way, because I totally voted for it.
Oh yeah, so did I. So it's still winning. I don't think it's done yet.
Oh, it's not? Okay.
No.
Well.
So Curtis, tell us a little bit how you got into Letterkenny, how you became a DJ yourself, and what kept you interested in Letterkenny.
Well, actually, it was you that got me into
What?
Letterkenny. Yeah.
What? I can't believe that.
Through a mutual friend, we started watching it, and I just couldn't quit. Truthfully, it reminds me a lot of people I grew up with. I grew up basically along the Canadian border,
Right.
and a lot of it hits home. So
do you find
wonderfully done?
Personally, I find myself a mix of hick and skid.
Ooh, that's a good thought.
So, that's my mix of D-Gen. What do you consider yourself having a mix of that, or you more hick than skid, more skid than hick?
Way more hick than skid, especially growing up.
Yeah.
Musically, I'd be like a combination of all of them, but
true. Yeah.
Temperament and clothing wise and whatnot, it was definitely hick.
Yeah. I'm with you. Growing up in Texas, you can imagine.
Oh, you're going to love my answer.
Okay, go ahead.
All right. Growing up in Seattle, I was a mixture of a skid and a native.
Okay. Yeah, that makes sense.
Flannel, angry,
Sure.
smoking too much, listening to terrible music. I didn't do the drugs, though. So, but,
Didn't you?
Not those.
Really?
No, actually, I didn't.
All right, then.
I absolutely never tried anything super hard because no.
All right, then.
So the funny thing is that the natives in Letterkenny are different than the natives I know along the Montana-Alberta border.
Oh, yeah.
Living situation wise. So
It's different how?
Well, you know how the nice res out there with everybody seems to have a consistent clothing theme or dress sense. Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
no, they dress just like everybody else. And
Well, it's funny because the way that the natives dress in Letterkenny is exactly how my entire generation dressed, because I was born and raised in Seattle and I was a teenager in the 90s. So like jeans and flannels and like ripped shirts and that's 100% what I looked like in high school.
Well, and I'm kind of curious because I know for being as progressive as Canada is, it does not have a very good history with natives as we don't. I don't know how drastically, if any, different than it is here.
I would say that it would be the what I know of it, and I know very little, only what I am able to see from the U.S., so I'm not privy to a lot of inside information, but also in talking to my family that lives up there. And the way that it's kind of been explained to me and the way that it makes sense is that Native people in the Canadian territories are treated very similarly to Black people in the United States. In that there's not a lot of news coverage when someone goes missing.
Mm-hmm.
There's not a lot of quote unquote public interest when something is happening on the res. And all kinds of things are still happening. Here, all kinds of things are still happening. Sure. We're still in the middle of this civil rights thing with not just Black people, but also Native Americans and any people of color. And I feel like that's kind of it never 100% went away in Canada, just like it never 100% went away here.
Right.
Yeah, basically the whole idea of the Canadian, not to get political and off the track, but Native peoples in Canada are basically treated exactly the same as Native people here in the States. And I'm not talking about like in California or here in Washington, basically, where it's a little nicer. If you go to Montana and you're in like a native area, you will definitely see how they are treated differently.
Yeah,
And
I would imagine.
yeah.
Well, and even up here on the actual, I mean, nobody from Seattle goes to the reservation. They go to the Tulalip Casino.
Right.
You know, that's not what the reservation
Right.
is.
Right. Yeah, that's
and
pretty
I've had
much
friends and family that, you know, in a bunch of the tribal areas around here. And yeah, no, it's nothing at all like what a normie would see.
Yeah, I would imagine that would be very much the same regardless of the state. If you're going to a casino, you're not seeing.
But that's what, you know,
I know.
That's what normal.
No, I understand.
What's my favorite phrase these days? Rich white liberals who are actually centrists. I can't think of the phrase right now. But anyway.
Sure. So anyway,
that's there.
All right. No, it's okay. No, I think it's good to talk about the causes that affect both sides of the border.
Absolutely.
And I know that, and I'm not gonna try to pronounce her name. The actress that plays Tanis.
Oh yes,
Tio Horn. Is I can't she goes by Tio, but her full native name is different, and I'm not gonna fuck that up.
You're not gonna white boy it.
Exactly.
Yes.
So I know she's very active in those causes for the Canadian natives, and so I fully support her in that. I would love to chat with her about that sometime if we could, but who knows?
Canada does seem to have a better track record of using native actors and actresses or actors as natives. I mean,
absolutely.
Yeah.
That is that is one thing that my other country has that the US doesn't.
So let's start off talking about where last week we finished off Uncle Eddie's Trust. Are you okay? All right. So last week we finished Uncle Eddie's Trust. We found that they, regardless of what pitch the Katie and Wayne were offered, nothing was going to go over better than a party. So they spent $5,000 on a party and then immediately ran out of booze. So
still amazes me.
And so we end up
the way.
Right. Yeah, exactly. So and then we end up with this episode 6, which is in all essence the season finale.
Oh, there's no essence. It was the season finale.
Right.
Then they had the extra episode.
Exactly. So I don't, even though there is a episode 7 to season 2, it is a spare.
Exactly.
It's a spare part.
those of you who are kind of newer to Letterkenny and watched them when they first were available on Hulu, they were available all together.
Right.
But some of us had to wait for new episodes to come out. And so I think the end of the season was like,
I don't remember
late.
exactly.
It wasn't winter yet, but it was getting late. And then you have a St. Patrick's Day episode. So to make sure you just want you guys to know that.
Yeah, those would have been the winter episodes. Season 2 would have been the winter episodes that came out. And I think they all dropped right at Christmas.
Okay.
So yeah, that's how they
I knew it had been a few months.
Right. So then, this would have come out in spring.
Like 2 months later.
Yeah, right.
And it was like a Doctor Who Christmas episode.
Yeah, exactly. For those Whovians.
And if you don't have anybody to discuss the St. Pat's episode, I would happily discuss that because I mean in another show. But
we actually do have that. That will be our next episode. We do. We
are booked into season 3.
Yes,
actually.
we are. We are fully booked.
Nice.
I know, it's exciting.
Not through season 3, just first episode of season 3.
But that gives and the recap.
And just so you know, the Facebook group has grown
exponentially.
We
just in the last couple weeks.
Last I looked today, we were at 370. By the time this airs, we'll probably be over 400. I would imagine. We will probably be over.
Started out with like 30 of us who'd been listening to this.
There'll probably be over 10,000 downloads by the time.
Oh
this
my
airs.
Jesus Christ!
So yeah,
that's fucking crazy.
It's been nuts. So yeah, I'm really excited about what we've been able to do with this, and I hope everybody keeps listening. We're gonna try to do some new stuff come next season with Patreon that will enable some extra features. So keep in tune. We'll post it on the Facebook and on the Twitter. Anyway, so getting into this episode, finding Stormy a stud. And Stormy has been mentioned before that she tries to kill her studs.
This season, that's been kind of a behind the scenes, like, or not behind the scenes, but like background story that's been kind of going through.
Right. And so, but we start this episode with the boys in the barn on a Thursday, and they're talking about
Sammy.
Right. They're talking about Samuel's 6th birthday and how Wayne just can't fucking stand Samuel.
This is why Wayne likes watching kids fall off bikes, because of this kid.
Well, I don't know if it's because of this kid, but it's probably, I would, because he's only 6, so I'd imagine he's probably built that up for a while.
True. Okay.
And that this kid has just got all kinds of issues, and that's
snorting fun dip.
Yeah. So they were talking about first he'd been just inhaling fun dip,
and then into the dryer.
Well, yeah, there's that, but then we get into the fun dip part where he's been inhaling it like Schneef and doing fun dip dry rips. And a dry rip is where you is that Gus?
Stop.
Hey, that's all right.
We have to lock them in the other room, otherwise they would be in here every.
So the fun dip dry. So a dry rip is where you snort a line in Schneef terms. You do a line of Schneef prior to doing any other booze,
right?
And that's an indicator that you got a problem with Schneef.
And you're then just after the Schneef, not just the good time.
Right, right. And then you've got hooping. where
you mean
it's where you put it in your pooper.
Wayne is so uncomfortable.
Wait a minute.
So great.
You're telling me you put the Schneef on your hand and then you put your hand in your pooper. So yeah, it's that was interesting. But then they started talking about,
I guess fun deep dick dinger wouldn't be the ends of the world.
You wanna know what? I heard my friends JP and J-Dub talk about fun dip dick dingers one time.
Fun dip shit, I can't say it.
Fun dip dingers. Dick dingers.
How do you do that?
Fun dip dick dingers.
Fun dip dick dingers. I just had to slow it down a little bit.
Fun dip dick dingers.
Shut up.
And they decide that Samuel's got problems.
Yeah, and slowly Dan realizes his little nephew is he's already snorting the fun dip and what might be next?
Taking it orally and intranasally.
And realizing what the next two things are that they just talked about.
So then him and Derry take off. And then
should probably go check on him. Right?
And so then we get right into just a short montage of Katie going to the dollar store, and she sees a poster there for a modeling.
And just takes
thing.
a little
and
picture.
She just takes a snapshot of it. So that's just kind of a little little taste.
What just happened?
And then we're back at the produce stand, and we got all the skids out there. We got Wayne, Derry, Katie, Squirrely Dan, and
all the hicks.
Right, and they're talking
about
the
skids.
Oh, did I say? I'm sorry. My bad. All the hicks. My bad.
Shameful.
It's my skid side. They're all hanging out, and they're asking Wayne what he's got next up on his dating. He says, "Nope, we got to find Stormy a stud."
They talk about how hard it is because she keeps trying to kill her studs.
Right.
I fucking love Katie. That's my girl.
And then Squirrely Dan says, "Well, she's probably going to need to have a finger shoved up her butt's holes." And
a
three knuckler. Wayne says there's no three knuckler. You can only have two knuckles because you have this knuckle in the middle and the knuckle down at the hand. And he says, no, you're missing the knuckle that's right under the fingernails. It says, unless you can punch somebody with it, it's not a knuckle. So then,
is that a scientific definition?
Wayne there.
Well, and then Squirrely Dan starts doing the
the like paw.
Yeah, it's like doing a paw, right?
And then trying to hit with that with that knuckle.
So then, and then Gail shows up, says no such thing as a three knuckler, a six knuckler. Because they were talking about, because Derry said
horizontally.
If you had horizontally, you could have six knuckler. Gail shows up. There's no such thing as a six knuckler, because if there was, I would know about it.
Yep, absolutely.
But Gail says she's found a stud for Ken Baumgartner. And he's got her in the truck. So
you're not exposed to give dogs human names
with people names,
right? Exactly.
You're not exposed to.
Exposed to. Yeah, I love how he says, because that's not the first time. You're not exposed to.
You're not exposed to.
Yeah. So yeah.
So I can't do that because I'm a teacher, so I can't say it. So it's really difficult.
What's interesting about that scene, technically, and the whole episode, is the way it's been shot.
Right.
The way it's set up, it's almost theatrical, like a play. You got the opening with the fruit stand and the people raiding around it, and then Gail just appears
from behind it.
Yes.
And there's another one later where she just disappears behind it.
Exactly. She disappears right behind. She's supposed to bring the truck up, but she just disappears behind the stand. It was just like, exit Gail.
It's very much like they're on stage.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
So I noticed that as well. So it's just very much just disappears. She's probably back there, doing like she does on the side of the road. Sometimes when you gotta grind one out. So then we cut to the ice rink.
Oh, poor boys.
And Riley and Jonesy are walking to the locker rooms, and who should come out but Coach. And
fucking embarrassing.
Coach says that he's stepped off from the juniors because the seniors need a new bench boss, and that he's just kind of, that they've just kind of given it to him, and that they've had a cakewalk, and he just starts kind of going over all kinds of cakes that they could have, and that they, and mostly because they skipped leg day.
Yes.
And I love how leg day is a theme.
Yes.
It's always a theme with the
Here we are at the end of season 2, and we've been hearing it over and over and over again.
Yeah, leg day. So he takes off. Riley and Jonesy are just
broken.
Their feelings are hurt.
Right? It had never happened before.
Feelings are
don't
injured.
Get hurt, buddy. They're injured.
Feelings are injured, bro.
That was so, but that scene right there, that's so like the kids in my class. Like when they realize that they're actually hurt by something, it's like, I don't understand this feeling.
The wonderful awkward masculinity thing going on there, where it's that tentative reach forward and then into the full awkward hug.
Right. It starts off. It's like they're gonna do a fist bump, and then it's a hand hold into the hug, and then
and then they're like leaning on each other,
right.
And just like ugh.
And they can't. So they're so bummed they can't even crush Sandoz.
Right.
Yeah.
Exactly. No Sandoz, but you love crushing Sandoz.
So they go to walk out. And they're
having an existential crisis, is what I wrote down.
Then who is there in a beam of light?
Jesus figure.
Glenn.
Glenn.
I'm just here for normal things.
Oddest choice for a Jesus figure.
I know, right? But kind of the perfect one for Letterkenny.
Oh yeah.
I'm here.
Holy man, as it were. Perfect.
Yeah.
I'm here for a normal reason.
I'm here for normal reasons.
Yeah, that was very funny.
The thing that I love about this, and I'd like to know why does Glenn have a Southern accent?
Yeah,
because it's obviously
people in Montana have a Southern accent.
Well,
but nobody else in Letterkenny does.
Right, it's a very distinct Southern evangelical type of accent.
Well, maybe that's how he knows the church. That he watches all of those shows on TV, and most of them sound like that.
I mean, and I don't know if it's that way up in Canada, if they have evangelicals up there at all.
Oh yeah, everywhere has that.
But
they have hard right, just like we do.
I'm sure, yeah. All right, I can't wait to get to that episode.
Oh God.
But yeah, so then we cut to the other Downers in the Skids basement. Devin rolled.
Yeah, keep going.
Devin rolls, and Stuart is just all cuddled up in the chair.
And they're trying, like, they have his favorite karaoke song all queued up, and he's too.
And it was a band you just talked
Diggable
to.
Planets,
Diggable
who are
Planets.
coming to Seattle, and I had to like play it for Dean because he'd never heard them before.
I've heard the name, but I didn't know anything about them. So,
but the timing was just perfect because that happened this last week.
It's not their best track, but it's his favorite.
Exactly.
That was funny in and of itself.
Exactly.
So yeah, they're naming off all kinds of bands. I've never heard of any of those
99% of those. Diggable Planets was literally the only one I knew.
Right. So, Milo and Shabazz something, and I didn't know what that
Palace.
Right. Oh, so you remembered that one. I was like, I don't know what the fuck any of this crap is. So then,
I know those bands.
Yeah.
So.
So
well, this is why we had you on this episode.
Right. So anyway, they finally pick out a track for Eve. I don't remember who was it that he finally picked. It was actually somebody's name. Anyway, so they queued it up, and then he's sitting there and just flipping through his phone,
staring at
Katie, having memories.
Oh, but the memories were like the most awkward moments of their relationship, which is even better to me because that's exactly what I do.
The pulling aways.
Yeah, like he goes to kiss her and she would pull away, or he would
smack her butt,
and she would like, I do that. I replay those images in my head.
So, and then it just ends with sad music. And so then
I'm surprised it wasn't Sarah McLachlan.
Arms up. And a bit appropriate since he played an angel. So anyway, then we're back to the produce stand with all the Hicks and Gail. And we find out that Stormy tried to kill Ken Baumgartner. And they're talking about Gail's just pissed off and so then we get to and she suggests maybe we could sedate her and Dan is not having that at all.
Try a sedative.
What? Are you kidding me? God. Oh, my. Oh, this is what we were talking about in my women's studies class, right here. Class have a fucking field day with this bullshit. That's for goddamn sure. Fucking patriarchy. Professor Trisha would literally shit a brick.
I love Dan.
Dan is very much in touch with his masculine and his feminine side.
Absolutely.
He's
so secure in all of it.
He's woke.
It's kind of sexy.
Out of everybody in Letterkenny, he's probably the most. He's got to be the most woke.
He is the most woke in Letterkenny. Yeah,
most woke
in my opinion.
Yes.
We should put a Facebook poll on that. Who's the most woke in Letterkenny?
And so,
Katie's pretty woke. She just doesn't care.
Right. Right. I wouldn't call that woke. I would call that
different.
Yeah.
Yes.
She's aware of all these things.
She's like Loki.
She uses her privilege.
Yes. She's very aware of her privilege and very okay with using it to her own advantage.
Right. I don't think she would use it to someone else's disadvantage necessarily. If she
didn't like him?
Well, if she didn't like him, I suppose, yeah. But
I mean, how many times has she started the fight?
No.
She's when people are trying to call a truce, she's like, you came here to fight, remember?
Yeah, you're very much, you're correct. You're correct. She is very much like Loki in that she is the hero in her own story.
Oh, yes. 100%.
So, the Gale takes off to find another stud. So be back in 30 minutes. We cut to Nolan Baumgartner. We cut to Lakeside with Riley and Jonesy and Glenn
with the two popsicles,
eating popsicles and ice cream.
No.
Well,
Glenn was eating both the popsicles.
No, the boys are eating ice cream.
Mm-hmm.
So they're
you gotta say that because
he's got two popsicles in his mouth
at the same time.
Two different colors too.
Mm-hmm, yeah, sizes as well.
Yeah.
One looks like a water pop.
Yeah.
And so they start explaining why they're having this problem. They want to know what's going on, and basically they tell him it's because of Katie, she who shall not be named. And so he goes on to talk about how there's other fish in the sea, and how you can
go into a restaurant and look at all the seafood on the menu.
Do I want this fish? No, that's like calamari. Do I want calamari?
Maybe I don't want fish at all. Maybe I want to try this with shellfish. Ooh.
Right. And so then they decide.
And everyone except for Riley and Jonesy know exactly where Glenn is going
right,
with this.
Exactly.
But...
And Riley and Jonesy say, oh, that means we need our big city slams. No, that's not what I meant, but okay, you just do it. And they take off in different directions like they always do. And Glenn sits there sucking on his popsicles. I gagged. and yeah, so yeah, go ahead.
And again, technically, it's a wonderfully shot scene with Jonesy and Riley on either side of Glenn, and Glenn being the middle apex
right.
of the shot.
You got the higher ground.
It's repeated all throughout the episode.
Yep, exactly.
Well, it's because he's evangelizing. What's the word? Evangelizing?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. He's evangelizing.
And I think he and if you think about it, now that you bring that up, every scene he's up a little bit higher.
Mm-hmm. And the final scene,
he's sitting on the table. He's on the Jeep.
Yep.
You know,
he's in the Jeep, and then he's on the Jeep.
Mm-hmm.
So that's
interesting. I didn't actually think about that when we were watching.
We'll talk about that.
Yeah.
So we're back at the produce stand. No Katie this time. Just Wayne, Squirrely Dan, Derry, and then Gail. And they have a new stud, Kelly Buckburger. Bring her around back. But there's Gail's like, I don't know about this one. You know, if it's this, if this doesn't work, yeah. Bottom of the barrel. And Wayne is
so sad.
Oh fuck. Oh bother.
Like, really, he loves this dog, and he is a dog breeder. Mm-hmm. So of course, like, he wants his favorite dog to have babies. I get it. I totally get it.
Right. So yeah, there's nothing said about. By the way, there's nothing said about Katie being gone.
No, not at all.
So because the very next scene, we're at the ice rink parking lot, and Riley and Jonesy and Glenn.
Not the ice rink parking lot. It was a building.
That's a stadium.
I think it was because she was meeting with somebody.
The stadium, yeah.
It looked like it, but I don't think that's what they were trying to do.
No, I just think that they happen to be there. I think that's probably where everything happens.
Yeah.
I don't know. I could be wrong, but it looks like it's a stadium of some sort. Okay. So, and so they're sitting out there in the parking lot. And Katie walks out of the stadium with what appears to be, I would guess, a modeling agent.
Mm-hmm. Because he tells her he wants her to come to the city.
Yeah.
He wants to sign her, and that he has to come to the city because there's nothing he can do with Letterkenny. Mm-hmm. He takes off, and as soon as he takes off, Katie looks up, sees the boys. They're like, "Hey, Katie Cat,"
but they're like, "Hey, like, yeah. Hi, are you mad at us still?"
And then as soon as that happens, who pulls up? The little blue bug, and it's
Big City Slams, boys.
Big City Slams, boys.
Oh, they done fucked up.
Yeah, the Big City Slams are there.
That could have maybe been the moment where she forgave him. It could have. She had that look in her eyes. And then the girls came in running up to the boys, and she's like, "God damn it, boys! All
Big
right.
City Slams. What are you gonna do?
You don't want my answer to
Big
that.
City Slams show up at the wrong time sometimes.
Sometimes.
So back to the produce stand again. Gail runs up, talking about a new stud that her cousin is gonna bring. And Squirrely Dan and Derry talk about they want a Hoover Schneef.
I love that Wayne's like, I feel like you've been building up to this for the past 6 weeks. Which, the whole season, it's been mentioned quite a few times. So I love that callback.
And so then Wayne has this to say about that.
And here's another thing. You shouldn't call it Schneef anymore. I think you should call it Schniff. Why? Because it's funnier. Well, I think. It's kind of like that word queef. So you can have a lot of fun with that word queef. But what's funnier, well, I think, is the word quiff.
The word quiff.
I love how awkward he is, but he thinks the word queef is awesome. And I'm like, does he know what a queef is? Because I feel like he would be very uncomfortable knowing what a queef is.
I think he knows what it is. I just think it's a funny sounding word. But he thinks it'd be funnier if it was quiff.
What it is, yeah.
And they start talking about Schneef, and then he keeps saying Schniff.
Schniff.
And he gets angry and angry, and then he leaves, and somebody else said Schneef, and you hear him yell out Schniff. Oh, and then
it's a mark of how sad he is. His like acceptance of that conversation after his word suggestion. And he just goes quiet and leaves.
Yeah,
right.
You hear him from off camera interject.
Yeah. Well,
that's a pretty regular
really
thing.
By the dog.
Well, you know, it's kind of like the Florida State Seminole vesicles. Nobody laughed.
Now, when y'all didn't laugh, yeah, he gets a little offended when they don't laugh at his jokes. Yeah,
right. Exactly. But he's made a point of that before and after. When he makes a joke like that, it's like, well, you know, I'm just saying, I said this thing and nobody acknowledged it.
Right.
And it's very funny for him to do that, and then for him to walk off and still interject it, but not make a point of it. It's
I love that the others completely ignore him to the point, like, they don't react in any way to him saying these things. Like, he's not even part of the conversation.
Right. Yeah, it's like because he's so deadpan at it. I don't think there's ever anything that would portray that he's trying to be humorous. So except for him saying
like a little half of a smile that kind of, you know, and his eyes squint a little more when he's saying a joke.
Right. Except for him actually saying what I think is funny, what I think would be funny. You have to tell you, here comes the joke. So from there,
kids fall off bikes all day.
Exactly. I don't give a shit about your kids.
I don't give a shit about your kids.
Then we're back to the Skids basement. Dev rolled Stuart. So Stuart's just he's got a blanket all around him, and they go to wake him up and ask him if he wants to play video games, and he's like, how long have I been here? And they said 3 hours of this game and 3 hours of this game. He goes, how long have I been asleep? And he goes, well, you did melatonin dry rips.
Yeah.
So he's basically
what happened to the 64? Well, we did 6 hours of this and 6 hours of this.
Right.
So now we're on the NES, and we've already done Mario 1 and Mario 3.
What about Mario 2? Now, I've never played. I was never a Nintendo guy, so I don't know if there was. Is there any? Curtis, I know you're a video gamer.
Yes, here's the thing: Super Mario 2 is not actually a Super Mario game. It was a different game altogether. They just transplanted the characters, like put the new skin on it, as it were, and put Mario in this game. It's actually a very different game from Super Mario 1 and 3.
Okay.
And it all takes place either in a dream or in a fantasy world underground. And it's a good game. I've played it many, many times, but it's bizarre. And it's definitely not a Mario game. So people get upset about that game.
That's funny.
It was done to cash in on the Mario craze.
Oh, of course. Because,
after the first Mario game, they didn't have anything ready to go. So they put that one out as a Mario game.
Oh, my goodness. I'm actually surprised you didn't know that, Dean. You know so much about that era of video game. Like,
no,
I remember playing Mario 1 on my neighbors because we couldn't afford one.
See, the Mario games, so all the Nintendo games that were... Those came out in the early 90s, like 89,
80s, early 90s.
Yeah, 89, 90, and I was in the Army at that time. And so I couldn't do any of that. And so I knew people who had like a Nintendo, but the only thing I ever saw was Super Mario Brothers. That was it. So I never had a Nintendo game. And all my gaming that I did was all PC based.
Yeah.
So
you know how people regard Fallout 76 as not a Fallout game?
Dean considers it not a Fallout game. Yes.
Super Mario 2. Oh, I know.
That was the perfect analogy.
We've had that talk. So they decide okay. Devin acquiesces, and we're gonna get Katie back because we need our Stuart back. If that's what it's gonna take.
Devin hates her. So
oh yeah. So then back at the parking lot.
Wait.
Yeah.
The best line.
Yeah.
Is that the Super Duck Hunter game gun in your pocket?
It's
called the Zapper. And no.
And then the maniacal giggle. It's because if you're wondering, wait, what are they talking about? It's when Roald is holding both Stuart and Devin And it's just this beautiful little moment, and Roald is just giggling. It's so cute. I love it.
Yes.
A little rolled boner. Then back to the parking lot. Riley and Jonesy are sitting down. Glenn is actually a little higher up again, like we talked about.
Yeah.
He's actually he's inside. Now, oh no, I take that back. He's actually on top of the.
Is he already on top?
Yeah,
He's on
this is
top
the part
of the
where he's
truck.
on top because.
Oh, right, because then he walks away. Yes. Anyway.
Because then that's where they've decided that.
Well, I love that Glenn's like, where have you guys been for the last 4.5 minutes?
When I'm getting blowies, I just gotta squeeze.
And they're both so depressed about it because it still wasn't their
Ferda.
Katie.
Ferda.
Ferda.
So yeah, they decide that they because of Glenn that they've got what they're missing is that Glenn explains to them that obviously Katie doesn't want to be with you.
If I was Katie,
And
I
it-
wouldn't want to be with you.
If
I was Wayne.
and Wayne obviously doesn't want you to be with her sister, and they take that as, oh, we've got to fight Wayne to get to Katie.
Yeah.
And he's like,
Talk
no,
about
that's not
logical fallacies.
right. That
Well, I
that is
love-
not what
well,
I'm
and they're
saying,
like-
but okay.
Well, no. It was at first. It was we got to go through Wayne. He's like, oh, I can work with that.
Yeah.
And then they're like, we got to fight him. No, we are not together on this.
Right. Yeah. He says, Riley says, I don't know if you got that. Then Jonesy, you definitely don't have it.
Right?
It says, so yeah, then they take off, and then there's a montage of
Gonna be a
while he's saying the Lord's Prayer, and Katie's leaving. So Katie's packing up, and
Mhm.
you see her walking out, and then we cut to the produce stand, and then
Well,
the
and
rest
you
of
can see in the driveway, you can see that there's the agent is standing next to his car,
yeah.
but nobody acknowledges it or sees
Right.
him or anything like that. I love that.
exactly. And Gail shows up, saying that her cousin's going to be there soon. And right at that point, Riley and Jonesy show up, trying to start a fight. And
What do we do
Tarps off.
until then? Riley and Jonesy show up.
right. And I love how Wayne is just kind of sitting there the entire time with just like his arm on his hand on his chin, and he's just resting there, like, okay,
Did
so
you get the clip of Are You Guys High?
no, I did not.
Oh, that would have been a good one. I wish
no.
I'd thought of that.
Yeah. So
That
yeah.
is awesome.
So they take their because they go tarps off. And he says, I know this is part of your thing for when you want to start a fight, but I want to ask one question. Are you guys high? And so right at that time, the Skids show up, and for some reason
Bike in.
they on their bikes, and for some reason there's a ramp.
Little tiny
Why is there
ramp.
a little ramp for some reason at the end of the laneway?
Maybe just for that.
But yeah,
Awfully convenient.
exactly. So air ramping.
Ooh! As Roald has to go around it.
Right. And so and then so they're putting on all this gesticulation to start a fight. Wayne gets up and he says, if this is where if there's a line, I'm budging. And right at that point, a truck pulls up, and this really pretty girl
Cue
gets
the
out.
music. Cue the like.
Yeah.
um,
Dreamweaver.
Yeah,
that's
yeah.
that's where it would. That's what would be in the movie.
Or if
version.
it was like a 90s movie, it would be like, what's her name? Sixpence None the Richer. Like, kiss
Here
me.
she goes.
Yeah, something like that. That's exactly what that moment was. Look at the pretty
Oh,
girl get out of the
Rosie.
car
And
and,
then-
bend over.
And Wayne, he just palms Rold's face and pushes him to the side.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And goes over there, and we have this interaction, and this is the entire interaction up to the very end. And so I just want to play this real quick.
Wayne, this is my cousin.
What's your cousin's name, Gail?
Rosie,
Rosie, how are you now?
good, and you?
I'm not so bad.
Should I pull around back and see if they'll have a go?
Couldn't have said it better myself.
Pitter patter. Wayne,
Yeah?
I want you back.
Oh.
The phone rings.
Wayne,
Yeah?
I'm pregnant.
Oh. Oh, fuck.
So
All right,
so
then.
Angie comes up. I want you back.
Oh, right. Wait. So he meets
meets
this
Rosie.
really beautiful girl,
Right.
and he's like, flirting with her
Yeah,
already.
Exactly.
And then Angie walks up. I want you back. And then Tanis calls.
Yep. I'm pregnant.
Oh, fuck.
While she's smoking, by the way.
While she's smoking, yes. I'm pregnant.
Oh.
Oh,
fuck.
Yeah, it's part of the continuing theme of the trio within this episode. In that there's three things for Wayne there. He meets the perfect girl who's essentially just like him.
Yep.
Down to the male dog that's gonna, fix Stormy, as
Right.
it were. And
the dog was described by Gail as being like Wayne.
Right, exactly.
Yeah.
Because Gail had been describing all of the studs. Yeah.
Quiet, good guy.
Hard
good
worker.
guy.
Hard worker. Good guy.
Yeah.
Good guy.
Sounds like a real good guy.
Real good guy.
And so you see these threes, like from the skids.
Yep.
There's 5 skids, but you just see the 3.
Right.
You
Exactly.
see Jonesy and Riley and Glenn.
Mm-hmm.
You see, because Katie's been gone a long time from the produce stand, you see the 3 of them.
Right.
Wayne, Jerry, and Squirrely Dan.
Right.
And everything that occurred in the thing is basically in a trio. The 3 women in Wayne's ending. The 3 opportunities for Riley and Jonesy that ended in, Katie's the only one who doesn't do the trio thing. And she is basically a huge motivator in the episode, a force of transition, as it were.
Totally, yeah. Because even when there is when there's a trio with her, where it's her, Squirrely Dan, and Derry, she gets up and leaves.
Yeah. And
she's like, I'm not going to be part of that.
In this scene, before Wayne walks away, you just hear, you don't see it, but you just hear, "Bye, Katie."
Bye, Katie.
As she's leaving.
Yeah.
And it's like nobody else acknowledges that she is now leaving.
Right. Yeah. Nobody notices. It's like everybody is so wrapped up in themselves.
They all want to get Katie back, but they don't actually
Right.
see Katie.
Right.
It's a very, very interesting point right there that just came out of my
Exactly.
mouth.
And her getting in the car behind them as they're fighting to get her back illustrates that very well. It's like, she's leaving, you morons.
Yeah. Unnecessary as of 5 minutes ago.
And nobody catches that.
Exactly, as Wayne said.
So yeah, all the Hicks know it. I mean, like, what the fuck are you here for? Don't you understand?
She made up her mind.
Yeah. So all those thoughts. Yeah. That I find that that the trio part is very interesting.
That, yeah.
Because it also kind of plays into the they like to do that a lot with the dates. This one's too hard. Yes. This one's too this one's too soft. This one's just right.
Right.
So there's a lot of that with a lot of 3-act type stuff.
I feel like you should write down for a future episode. Mm-hmm. Maybe sometime once I'm done with grad school, for us to go through and look for those kind of coincidences. I think that would be a really interesting thing to talk about, how underlying arcs throughout the different seasons and what is connecting from season 1 to season 4 or, that sort of thing.
Right.
I think that could be fun. And
yeah.
by the time we get to season 4 or 5, I might be done with grad school.
With the hockey players coming in from stage right, and then the skids coming in from stage left.
Yeah.
And basically framing the Hicks is another triangular shot. Mm-hmm. And it's wonderfully done.
And then eventually there's 3 cars, because you got the agent's car, the boys' Jeep, and then
and
Rosie's truck.
Rosie's
yeah.
truck.
Wow. I'm going to see him everywhere in the next episode.
Looking for 3s. The sign of the 3.
Yeah. My big fear about this episode, I mean, when I first saw it, was that we were seeing the end of Katie. Because this is the kind of thing that people do. I'm going to the big city. Bye.
That's kind of like,
kind
of like because I think you also watched the Orville, when what's her name went away.
Yes.
And she went. What race is she? The strong people that are also very smart. I can't.
I don't watch the show.
About.
But yeah, she was the security. She was this tiny little girl, but she's like.
Oh yeah, I remember you telling me about her.
And then she kind of did it was the same thing. Yeah. And so end of the first season. She just
second
season.
First season.
And so she went away because she had something better to do. I don't remember what it was, but it kind of the same thing. And then they brought somebody else in. So I can totally see that. where if you, I think I did have that inkling as well when I first saw it that is Katie going away?
And then, funny enough, spoilers, we do actually lose an actor, right? Isn't it right here that
I don't know.
Yeah,
Devin stops?
This is the last scene of Devin. Well,
Yeah.
unless you count the St. Patrick's Day episode.
Is he in the St. Patrick's
But
Day?
Devin doesn't come back.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So even though we think we're saying goodbye to Katie, we don't get to say goodbye to Devin.
Right. Yeah.
Which technically is
It's a complete
spoilers because
surprise.
that's in the future that we realize that he's not there.
Right.
But
Yeah, he is in St. Perfect Day. So we'll talk about him next episode.
yes.
But yeah, in essence, this is the season finale for 2.
Mhm.
Because when we get back to St. Perfect's Day, we have all of them back. So
Including Rosie, right?
no, Rosie is not in St. Perfect's
See,
Day.
I need to review this one.
No.
I'm glad that we're going to be reviewing that next.
Yeah.
Woo!
So, but yeah, so this is introduction of Rosie,
Mhm.
and goodbye to Devin, I guess. So,
Well, to that,
And
goodbye
this-
to Katie.
well,
in terms
goodbye-
of the show, like we don't know it's goodbye
Right.
to Devin.
right.
It's hello to
But
Rosie,
yeah, this-
goodbye to Katie.
yeah.
Oh God, is Rosie now going to be taking the place of this character that's leaving?
Yeah.
Yeah, and that was another reason they're introducing another person into the show, like right off the bat. And it's not going to fill Katie's role, but it is another fresh face.
Mhm.
Right.
And she's leaving. So you're like, oh, wait, is she not coming back?
Yeah, and when you think about it, you kind of do have to. I mean, you still have to have Katie for. I mean, if you're gonna have Riley and Jonesy, you have to have Katie
Okay.
because I
can't
if
talk. We
we're-
can't talk about
no,
spoilers.
I
I
understand.
was gonna say, if we're talking about it up to this point,
Up till
I'm
this
going to
point.
totally agree.
Yes.
Right.
Up to this point.
So, but yeah,
And it's hard for me to answer that one because I'm like, but I like what happens next.
yeah. So no, but that's okay. So so we end up now. So the questions, you have is Wayne about to be a dad?
Right.
And he
Yes.
and he hates kids.
I remember when the first time we watched this episode and it was the season finale for us and we were like, what?
Right, because there was only 2 seasons on Hulu at the time.
Right? No, this was before Hulu.
Oh, right, yeah.
This was before Hulu, honey.
You are correct. No, we did everything legally.
We did
I
everything
have no
completely
idea
legally.
What you're talking about.
I would like to rephrase the fact that I am Canadian, so therefore it's all legal.
Oh, is that how that works?
Yeah,
Why?
totally, 100%. It's my I don't know, birthright
It's your birthright as a Canadian to
to get to see the best of Canadian television.
That should be how it works, right?
It should be.
Yeah.
Should be.
So yeah, it's like me being a Texan, from the Dallas Fort Worth. I should be able to get the Dallas Cowboys games whenever I want.
Right? Right.
That should be a law.
Totally.
That should be a law.
100%. I'm actually
It's a
surprised
law.
that's not a Texas law. If you are from Texas, you will get free Cowboys games every year for the
That's
rest
right.
of your
I
life.
should have a login.
Well, why would anyone move away from the Texas area? I
Too
God.
fucking hot.
Texas.
I can give you several reasons. But
Oh,
then
don't
again,
worry, I
I'm a
never
brown
wanna go to
person,
that.
so.
Have you seen the movie Red State?
Yeah.
Anyway, getting away from politics again.
Seen it. I lived it.
So new terms we have. Let's see.
did I write anything
Gosh, we've got dry rips.
Right.
So we have new drug terms, dry rips and hoopin'. I mean, as well as all the terms that they use for
all of the other drugs.
Right,
And some of those I totally recognized, which we didn't really talk about that
No, we
that
didn't.
part when they were when Wayne didn't know what
yeah.
certain
Well, and I think because a lot of those aren't
drug terms were.
they're drug terms, not necessarily. I mean, they're yeah. So
but that everybody else knows, and he's just like, what,
Right.
what, who, what? I love when they're like Molly, and he's like, who?
who's that?
Oh, honey.
So a bench boss,
Right.
which is a term for it's actually just a different term for head coach for a hockey team.
Right.
So that means coach, who was their junior coach, is now going to be the seniors coach. And so let's see. Any other new terms that we learned? I thought I had something else in there, but maybe not. Yeah, I think that was it. Is this the first time we heard Big City Slams? Or if that?
No.
Okay.
No,
I didn't
we've had,
think so.
No. Yeah.
Okay. I was pretty sure we had heard that before, but I wasn't quite sure. But yeah, and more.
It might have been the first time we've seen Big City
True.
Slams that I can remember.
Yeah, I think they've referenced
set
it.
The look and the tone of Big City Slams.
Right.
Yeah.
Because later on, they all have that style, that look.
Yeah.
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 So
I think it is
it's
the
like
first time we've met a person from outside of Letterkenny that knows the greeting.
Rosie, yeah, because she's
Yeah.
from Tobermory.
Yeah, she's not from in town.
No, Tobermory.
But she knows the how are you now.
And Tobermory is actually it's a Scottish name, which I find is interesting. That's
For Canadian? Nah, come on.
Well, I mean, because you got Letterkenny is Irish.
Right.
Letterkenny is, and we'll talk about this in the next episode. But Letterkenny is an Irish town name.
Yes, but Canada is a
Yep.
UK province. It's really
But
easy for
what
people to.
I'm just saying that it's interesting in the fact that we've got a Scottish town coming into the Irish town. So that's that little juxtaposition.
And then the French town.
Yep.
And then
Yeah.
totally.
So those are all the terms. Any other questions, thoughts, theories, Curtis?
No, not really. I thought it was a very the first time I saw it, of course, the cliffhanger and whatnot,
Right,
were very exciting.
Right.
But I didn't have long to wait, so it was nice
Right.
to see
Right.
that. And then
That's
going back and watching,
that's the only problem with binging is you.
You watch 5 or 6 at a time
Yeah.
because that's the entire season, and
Right.
then you have to wait 6 months.
Exactly. It's like it yeah.
and watching the series as a whole in episodes like that, where not like a lot happens,
Mhm.
but the character examination and the way it's framed and shot, whoever's doing it really has a very nice eye and a good grasp of cinematic and theatrical setting, because it looks good. I mean, it looks fantastic. They carry the themes throughout the episode,
Right.
and they reinforced it with the way their pacing and their setting and everything. It's just wonderfully done.
Yeah, the cinematography
And
on
from
that
a
is
technical point of view, yeah. Well,
go ahead. No, I was going to say, yeah, the cinematography is great, and they have so much great landscape to work with there.
Mm-hmm.
Exactly. And you know, it was a whole outdoor episode basically.
Right.
Yeah. Very. In fact, I can't remember, with the exception of the skids basement,
Right.
any other indoor shot.
Except for Katie, yeah,
And it
Katie
was very
packing.
nice.
Katie packing,
Yeah.
and I think that's it. That's the Katie packing and the inside the ice rink, Riley and
Oh
Jonesy.
yeah, the inside the ice rink when they're all
But
sad.
they weren't in the rink. They were just kind of in the lobby of it. They weren't even inside the locker room yet.
I didn't mean
I
inside the
count
rink
the whole
itself, but
thing
I was
as
just
the
talking. I
rink,
was
Yeah.
So yeah, that's all I was saying. So yeah, that was that, and so that was basically it. Yeah, mostly it's very set up like a play. It's very even though it's outside, it's very staged, like blocked like a play, like you were saying. So yeah, I could say
definitely, yeah.
So, are we ready to move to our favorite segment?
Absolutely.
Fuck, fight, or Ferda.
Ferda.
So
explain it for the friends at home.
So for those playing at home, we will bring a list of characters. We'll bring the list of characters from the episode, and for this episode, would you fuck them? Would you fight them? Or Ferda, which basically means
you got their back.
Yeah, you're buddies. So it's kind of like Mary,
fuck, Mary, kill.
Fuck, Mary, kill. Except we don't
but
kill.
Not.
We just fight.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And sometimes after the fight, you have a Ferda.
Right.
So sometimes a fight leads to a Ferda. Sometimes a Ferda leads to a fight. Sometimes a fuck leads to a fight. And sometimes a fuck leads to a Ferda. It's funny how all that happens.
Okay. So
I love you.
So fuck, fight, or Ferda. So we're going to start with, like we usually do, with Wayne.
Oh, he's not fucking right now. Remember? He's putting it all aside.
Right.
As in this episode and everything we know before it, just this episode, yeah, it's got to be Ferda because he's not interested right now.
Okay.
Because he wants to find a stud for Stormy.
Okay. Curtis.
Ferda.
All right.
Yeah.
So Ferda. Katie.
Oh, I think we know the answer to that. Anytime, Katie. Yeah, that would be fuck.
Oh, okay.
Well, not for me, which is kind of surprising. But actually, in this episode, I feel like she needs a friend. Like she's
trying to find her way.
She's trying to figure out what to do next.
Yeah.
Like how to.
What's the next step?
Yeah. So I would be Ferda for her as well.
She's run through what were basically her distractions.
Yes.
And she's come through the other side and she's realized that they're not opportunities for growth or advancement for her.
Right.
She has to find something else.
Yeah. Outside. Do I have to leave Letterkenny?
Yes.
So, all right. Squirrely Dan.
I'm gonna fuck him because he's a woke boy. All of his fervor around. I mean, granted, I wouldn't have been that passionate necessarily about saying sedate a dog to impregnate her, but I just love I love seeing the passion.
That's where his mind goes.
Yeah. I love that he's immediately like, no, we got to defend this. This is not okay. I know people like that. I do know people like that.
Yeah.
Not going to say what was about to come out of my mouth. But anyway.
I would say there are some people that are overly woke, I guess,
yes,
maybe.
Actually, I would 100% agree with you.
You're too woke.
I wouldn't, well, and I wouldn't necessarily say overly woke. I would say
caffeinatedly woke.
They're woke on the behalf of others.
Of others, yeah.
And that's the thing for me that I don't like.
Right.
Like with Dan, it was comedic almost because I do care more about animals than I do about people most of the time. But when someone is offended on my behalf, it actually offends me more than the person who offended me the first time. So
he is so theatrically offended in this. He throws down his bag of chips. He stomps over into the middle of the scene and makes this grand proclamation. So yes,
it was like a Shakespearean. What's the word? Oh my God, I can't think of what it's called.
I don't know.
Like he was monologue. That's the word. It was a Shakespearean monologue. He's up there going, no, and this happened, and this happened, and my teacher would be so mad. And
Professor Patricia.
I want to see Professor Tricia.
Yeah.
Because I'm very interested in seeing this person who Dan apparently reveres.
Yeah.
And how long is this class going on? Is it a continuing?
He's been in that class for this is now his second season.
Yes, exactly.
Well, maybe he just likes to take that one class over and over again, or maybe she has a series of classes at the local community college, and he goes and takes them one at a time.
Could be. I wonder if that's his lady friend that wants to pay some attentions to his butthole.
He does have the most history of meeting girls outside of the bar.
True.
He does have this history of understanding sexual things before any of his friends.
Mm-hmm.
I dig that about a person.
I don't know if it's understanding per se, in that he brought it up.
He's the most adventurous.
He's willing, he's willing to try it. What's the term in the kink world? No, it's when you're willing to try anything, and I can't remember. There's a term. Anyway.
Okay.
It's like maybe somebody. No, nobody. Okay. Damn it.
Derry.
Ferda. He didn't do much for me in this episode.
Ferda. Yeah. He played basically straight man with a few funny moments, but he basically just sat the whole episode.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
he was a very good Greek chorus.
Yeah, he just brought up a few things talking about you know how I knew about three knucklers.
Six knucklers.
Six knucklers. Yeah, then Katie. That's when Katie takes off, and as soon as Squirrely Dan sees Katie's gone, yeah, tell me. So all right,
he was there to advance the plot,
right?
Yeah. So
just to add a little, throw some spice in there. Gail.
Gail's a tough one for me in this episode. Go ahead.
I'd have to fight Gail because she is in this episode. If anything else, she is so furious about everything. And she gets mad at the drop of a hat.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like, wow, you were really touchy this episode.
I agree with you. I feel like I would have gotten into a fight with Gail within like 30 seconds of being near there. Not because I want to fight her, but because she was looking for a fight.
She was just so angry.
Her whole body energy was like that. Exactly.
Well, she was
stomping with energy and fury.
Well, I think she's putting us, because she's like the opposite end of Wayne's side, where she's trying so hard to make this thing happen, and it's not working, and
Wayne's getting depressed, so she's getting angry.
Yeah, she's just the opposite end of his energy. So she's the yin to his yang.
And why is Gail playing dog pimp, by the way?
Right.
I'm guessing that's what she does. Well, Modine's is burned down, so she's got to do something. So
she probably is playing matchmaker for dogs, and we missed it somewhere.
Yeah. So all right. So then let's go to the skid. Stuart.
Oh, Stuart. He's so sad.
Oh.
So yeah.
Ferda. He needs friends. Good friends.
Ferda, yeah, friend.
All right, Devin.
Oh God, I usually hate him so much, but he's so kind to Stuart in this episode.
So
it's like, okay,
I'm going with Ferda on that too.
So this is two episodes in a row that TR that you've gone Ferda for Devin.
Yeah, right before he leaves. Isn't that funny?
And then
he's redeemed himself a little bit in my eyes.
Yeah, and then rolled.
Oh, if rolled went my way, I probably would be totally about that, because he's just this adorable little, like, what was it that I said in the last episode? It's like the Looney Tunes character where you have the big bulldog and then the little scrappy one.
Yep.
Like, I just want to put him in my pocket.
Right.
So I'm going to say Ferda, only because I do not have the equipment that Rolled would like.
Okay.
I'm going to say Ferda because he's just, he's a little too excitable for anything like that. You couldn't fight him. It'd be like punching a kid.
Absolutely.
Basically.
He would fall to the ground in pain before he even connected the punch.
Yeah.
All right. So Riley and Jonesy.
I'd have to go Ferda for both of them.
Mm-hmm.
They actually need somebody to talk to.
Yeah.
Aside from each other, because they're just bouncing stupidity back and forth.
Yeah.
And
they are definitely an echo chamber to themselves.
Yes, it's amazing how it actually grows when they're just bouncing the same idea back and forth.
I agree with that 100%. That's actually a really good way to wrap them up as a duo.
Mm-hmm.
They are an echo chamber amongst themselves. Mm-hmm. They don't really have any original ideas. They just have little tidbits that they put together and get bigger and bigger and bigger.
Ramp it up, yeah.
Yeah.
Glenn.
Oh, Glenn.
Glenn.
Someone needs to fight.
I gagged.
Ferda.
It's so bizarre.
Because I'm
gonna go Ferda as well.
Yeah. I will take him to Queer Bar, and I mean, we're not being sponsored by Queer Bar or anything, but Queer Bar in Capitol Hill.
All right. Coach.
Fucking embarrassing.
I would have to fight Coach.
Punch him.
Because he's a very confrontational guy.
Yeah.
And I don't personally, I don't actually like people yelling at me.
Yeah.
And I don't let it happen. Mm-hmm. So
angel food cake was whipped up with a spatula.
I'd be laughing at him because it's hilarious. It's just like, oh yeah, that's funny stuff. But then he get even more physically and vocally loud, and I'd be just like, okay, that's it. Terps off.
Yeah, he reminds me too much of somebody that I grew up with. I have the impulse to say fight, but I'll be perfectly honest. What I would probably do is turn around and walk away.
So
I don't do with insults, especially insults to intelligence, and he does that constantly.
Right.
So I don't know. I mean, this could be an instance where, to be fair,
when he's insulting Riley and Jonesy's intelligence, he's just calling what he sees.
Oh, I know. But everything we know about Coach is him insulting Riley and Jonesy, and I just there's nothing
exactly,
to
up
that.
to this point.
Yeah.
Right.
Yes, up to this point.
So, Are you? Well, you're not fucking him. So it's either fight or Ferda. Which one?
Fight?
All right. You can. It doesn't have to be a physical fight. You can yell back at him.
I'm mean though.
Yeah, that's fine.
I'm like,
probably
you know this.
He probably needs that. Okay.
And I apologize way too much.
So we're gonna finish off with the three muses.
Oh yeah.
Rosie.
Well, we don't know anything about Rosie except for that she's that she can talk like Wayne and she's really pretty.
Mm-hmm.
So at the moment, just purely on the fact that all we know is the physical attributes of it, I would say fuck because she's pretty, and that's kind of what her introduction was about.
I would echo that in that just the way she comes in, she almost floats in on a cloud. There's sunlight, and she just amazing possibilities are opened up when this beautiful woman steps out of her truck.
Yeah.
And it's just like, okay, yes, that's what you want me to see, and that's what I see, and that's fantastic.
Mm-hmm.
Tannis.
Yeah, I still love Tannis.
Oh, Tannis.
She's pregnant, so that's not going to happen twice. So.
Yeah, and even if that wasn't the case, I'd still, the fuck Tannis is excellent.
Yeah,
she's got fire, and she does what she wants. She is the singular most interesting person that you run into, because she's very contrary even to herself.
Oh, yeah. Well, yeah, she's definitely a leader. Like we've talked about this before. She's definitely a leader, and I think when you're a leader like that, sometimes you have to
be harder than you actually are.
You have to appear. Your presence has to be known in many cases, even though it's not true.
Yeah.
So and then finally Angie.
You don't just walk up to some dude and say, "I want you back."
Okay,
like,
so no, hang on.
We got to work on this.
Hang on.
You got to ease into that.
Hang
shit.
Hang on. So they have had sex.
Yes.
Okay. So and then something you can tell something has happened to bring her to the point where she's driven all the way out.
Yep.
To go and talk to Wayne about this.
About whatever that is that she wants to talk.
In front of all these people that she's obviously embarrassed.
And she knows that they hate her.
Right.
Yeah, that is true.
So she's kind of and if you think about it, she's fallen on her sword here.
Yeah. I can see that.
So
I say Ferda.
Okay.
She might need a friend getting through this because nobody else looks like they want to be her friend.
Yeah.
I say fight because nobody else wants to be her friend, and there's a reason for that.
Yes, absolutely.
And if I'm friends with Wayne, then there's another side of the story.
Well,
I mean, I would never physically fight her, but yes, it's definitely a fight situation.
Yeah. And so no, I can understand all sides of it. I mean,
yeah, me too.
So I mean, she's gorgeous, so fucking her is totally understandable.
Yes.
She is definitely being vulnerable right now. So Ferda, but the history also fight. Yeah. So she's kind of a.
But with this episode, we're supposed to base our decision strictly on this episode.
Yeah.
And
totally.
strictly in this episode, she is just walking up vulnerable.
Yeah.
There's nothing that causes me to want to walk up and punch her. So strictly on this episode.
She didn't come off as vulnerable or what. She just kind of came off as coming up and going, "Hey, I want you back. Wayne, let's get back together." Yeah, I'm bored. It's Thursday. There's nothing to do. Let's get back together. I don't have a boyfriend right now. Let's get back together because I know you'll treat me well, and then I can dump you again.
Yeah.
And I'm not coloring it, but she didn't really have any sympathetic emotional resonance in that scene for me.
Okay. I understand. Either way, I'm with you.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's a very interesting predicament that Wayne ends up in.
Who's he going to pick? Is he going to go for the brand new girl that has potential? Is he going to go back to the one that he probably still does love a little bit, but he knows will probably hurt him?
Yeah.
Or does he go do the honorable thing and go and be with Tannis, who may or may not be having his baby?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's a wonderful situation they put him in, because Wayne is a good old boy, and he will stand by his obligations and his duties.
Yeah.
And he does like Tanis. It's not like it would be a horrible thing for him.
But I don't feel like Tanis is the kind of person that would be like, I want to marry you because I'm pregnant. I feel like she would be like, fuck you. This is why you're coming up.
For Wayne, I say, yes, he is honorable, but I think he would be honorable in that he would
step up to his responsibility.
He would step up to his responsibility. I don't think marrying would necessarily be that. He would see that as being responsible.
No, but I think that's what they were kind of implying.
Yeah.
He's now got 3 women who he could potentially be with. Who's he going to peg?
Right. So is he? So, but the question is,
think so much.
Go ahead.
No, go ahead.
Oh,
go ahead.
So yeah, I would say, is he going to start fresh and new?
Mm-hmm.
Is he gonna?
That's what I was saying.
Is he gonna get into a family situation, or is he gonna? Yeah, is he gonna go back to the old haunt?
Yeah.
See, and along those lines, I didn't think so much marriage as I know he would give it the old college try at a relationship.
Yeah, because I don't think he has that Christian quote unquote
morality.
Yeah, where he has to do that per se. Yeah, where
no, exactly.
Yeah. But I mean,
I think Wayne would be a dad no matter what.
Oh yeah,
marriage, relationship, whatnot. But I think it's in him, because he does care for Tanis and finds her attractive, to do that stab at making a relationship. And this is just a cause to do so.
So with Wayne's thoughts about kids, do you think he could be a good dad?
I think he would be a fine dad because, as my grandmother used to say, to paraphrase, anyone who likes animals that much can't be bad. And he's a stand-up guy. And although to this point in the series, you don't see anything that would change that, yes, I think he would be a fine father.
All right, then.
I can't necessarily agree with that, because up until this point, he literally has just said that he absolutely fucking hates kids and he wants to see them hurt, and he laughs his ass off when they do get hurt. And that doesn't sound like somebody who would make a great father. It makes sound like someone who would make a great uncle. But I can't. I
echo those sentiments. I mean, kids getting hurt is funny, especially if you don't know them.
Not my kids. Yeah, I think. Yeah. I would think. Well, yeah, it would be interesting to see Wayne in a dad role.
First time the kid shits and mom doesn't want to change the diaper, he's out. I can see it.
You think so?
That's just what I. Well, come on, the way he is about bodily functions, exactly. Exactly.
That squinched up face. It's poop. It's in his poop.
Imagine like when Natalie was a baby and was sick and you took her to the hospital. Tell the story now and imagine that happening. You know which story I'm talking about.
Yeah, when Natalie was not keeping anything down and we took her, she was, fairly newborn, and she just wasn't keeping anything down. And we took her to the emergency room, and I was checking her in, and while she was back in the waiting in the doctor's office, or the waiting room at the hospital, for the waiting for the doctor to come in. And so I was doing the check-in because I had all the insurance stuff, and so I checked her in. Then I went back there, and before I went back there, instead of putting my wallet with all, because I had all my cards and stuff in my back pocket, I had just put it in my shirt pocket. And I went back to the room where they were waiting for the doctor, and I picked her up, and she threw up right into that pocket that had the wallet in it. So
she threw up in your pocket.
Yeah. In the wallet, in the pocket.
Now imagine that happening to Wayne. Ew, yeah, ew.
But he would, he would be,
actually
arm's length.
Yeah,
he would be an arm's length down.
I don't see that bothering him, because I'm not a big fan of kids, and their associated messes. But I have pets that I clean up after all the time because I have to. And I'm not overly fond of these things that come out of both ends, but I do clean them up. And And so I think that a guy who spends as much time around livestock and the farm as Wayne does will not have any problem in cleaning up a kid.
Kids and animals are so different, though. I spent 20 years raising other people's kids. It's a completely different thing than picking
yeah,
up shit after my
I-
dog, though. I have to say
I
that.
think
I have to.
It
I think he would
is.
be like he would be much more like an uncle.
Yeah.
I can't see Wayne has not. You haven't seen. Okay, we haven't seen Wayne show love
Right.
at all.
Right.
And so he's. I mean, you can tell he cares.
Yes.
About things, but love. I mean, that's the one thing. Yeah, we haven't seen that from
Nope.
him for
Absolutely have
really
not.
anything. I mean, he cares and protects for Katie. That's probably his closest family.
But the protection, that
Right.
that's more machismo. Like
It's
he's like, I've got to be
It's a
tough
duty
for her.
It's
Yeah.
a duty.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's like he does it out of duty, not out of love.
And he loves his friends, but
Yeah.
he's not like comfortable enough to talk about
Yeah.
a lot of things with
Sure.
them.
And which is, I mean, I can understand. It's very small town hick thing
Mhm.
where you don't do that. Because it's like those little towns are stuck in a different time period.
Oh,
so yeah, so I can, I don't know.
it's a hard one to say.
Right,
It's
it
a hard
is.
one to say.
Yeah. I mean, because you don't have, because if I think about it, the small town Mayberry type of thing, you think of Andy Griffith. If you watched any of those shows, you knew Andy Griffith loved Opie, even though that was small town and he was still that kind of dad. I mean, that kind of person where he still had the dude. You knew he loved Opie,
Mm-hmm.
and he would sit down.
But we've never seen Wayne with anybody
Yeah,
like that.
you haven't seen. Yeah, that's.
I mean, in Andy Griffith, he was that way with the maid too. He would sit down with his friends and have conversations where he would put his hand on their back.
There
and
was, he had feelings.
Yeah, he had feelings and
Yeah.
he expressed them.
Yeah.
So Wayne doesn't express his
Yeah,
feelings.
Wayne is definitely not a Renaissance man.
No.
Squirrely Dan would be more Renaissance man.
Oh my God. I think Squirrely Dan would be like the most open and accepting parent. He'd be like,
God.
you'll do what you want. Just be safe. Just be safe.
Right.
Like when they're like 3, he's like, oh, you want to go play the road? Sure. I'll stand here, make sure no cars hit you. You go ahead, baby. Like that's how I imagine
Yeah.
Squirrely Dan parenting.
Yeah. Yeah, it's fun. So it's funny. I wonder. You wonder how there's not so much emotion displayed by Wayne. So yeah, is he on the spectrum?
I
I've suspected.
get from Wayne that he loves Derry.
Yeah.
And I get it. And in fact, to me, it feels like their bond is deeper than the one with Squirrely Dan.
Well, he's known them since
I
they were
mean,
kids.
Yeah, I think
They're still great friends.
Right.
They've known,
But-
they've known Derry since they were kids. They grew up together. Dan was a later
course.
addition as an adult. So
But yeah, actually, I always wondered about that. I mean, to go on a sidetrack, which is the way I do.
what?
The whole Squirrely Dan thing, I was asking questions about that because it implies, it doesn't say, in some of the episodes, it implies that he's been around at least as long as Derry.
No.
Not quite, because they've had to explain things to Squirrely, like going back to the
Things that from their childhood. Yeah.
for
like,
the birthday, the super
Yeah.
soft birthday. They had to
Yeah.
explain Squirrely Dan about why things were different for why.
Exactly.
So he hasn't been around
He's
long
been
enough.
around. He hasn't been part of Wayne's circle as long as Derry.
right. Yeah. That's what you're saying.
But he's
They've
been there.
Derry and
Yeah.
Wayne are about the same age and have grown up together. We talked about this in
Yeah.
season 1.
Right.
And how
Yeah.
like in our assumptions of the characters, Katie's a little bit younger, Squirrely Dan's a little bit older, and they probably met him through farm work.
Right.
Even though we don't really know 100% what Squirrely Dan does, right? Do we?
I
have
think
we
he
gotten
just.
that figured out yet?
I think he works on the farm there.
I
but
wonder,
I don't know.
and that's how.
Yeah,
they
but
might
it's
have
never
met him.
quite stated. But yeah, I'm guessing
Yeah.
that. I'm
So
guessing
it's
that
like it's like
Wayne
a
has
friend that
hired
you've
him.
had for
Yeah.
4 or 5 years versus a friend you've had for 30 years. That's a different
Yeah.
kind of situation.
Right.
Right. I just get I get that a different feeling, as it were, from that. But nonetheless, so yes, I can see Wayne expressing love, but perhaps it's because I'm in that same. I grew up in that same way, in that same manner,
Yeah.
in that same kind of small
yeah.
town thing. Your buddies, your friends, you do anything for them, you love them, but you're never going to tell them that
Yep.
because that's not going to happen.
Oh yeah, yeah.
I
It's
mean-
it's taken me a long time to get out of that mindset. So, yeah,
Yeah.
it's yeah. So,
It's like, I'll have your back. I'll fight to the death for you. I'll do anything for you. But if you were to ask me, I'm never going to say that, oh, man, I love you.
I love you, man.
I have honest human feeling for you. No, because stoicism and being a good guy and doing the job, that's the thing it's about. That's being a man. That's getting it done.
That's Wayne in a nutshell. Yep.
Yeah. So, I mean, perhaps I'm reading it deeper than it should, but I get those feelings from him for those people.
Yeah, I think maybe it's Wayne's love in his own way. So,
yeah, if I told my sister that I loved her all the time, she'd probably be looking at me like I was
are you
something completely terribly
wrong.
Are
you dying?
Yeah, are you dying? I do love my sister, but yeah, it just doesn't get told that way. Yeah. So, yeah.
Yeah, I'm kind of the exact opposite. I grew up with a father who I remember in high school counting the number of times that he said the words "I love you" to me, and I didn't even fill up a hand. And so I was a daughter of an empath on one side and someone who refused to show any emotion on the other. And I still have a really difficult relationship with my dad. So for me, it's hard for me to, I can hear and understand that other people have differences in that, but I don't know. I feel like if you love somebody, if you care about them, you should make sure that they know that. And I don't, in my complete outsider point of view, obviously not part of the group, not part of their dynamic, and I can see that there's care, absolutely, but that's not what I was talking about. I feel like care for friends and how you show them and treat them, it does kind of indicate what kind of a parent you're going to be, because your child, if you love somebody, you have this piece of love for them, it's going to be magnified with something that's part of your own body. I also had a grandparent who, in my mom's words, was very much anti-showing affection. And I don't necessarily think that that's a good thing. So most of, what I love the most about Squirrely Dan is he's so open with his emotions and wants to talk about it. And the thing that worries me about Wayne is that he holds it all inside and doesn't talk about it, because I've seen what that does to people.
Well, let's see. Well, I guess that's the thing I would like to see. Will Wayne grow?
Yeah.
Will he evolve?
Yeah, I never heard the words "I love you" from my dad. And
well, Curtis,
that's just the
Curtis.
way
We love you.
So,
we love you
too.
Oh well, thank you very much. But yeah, it's not like, that's just the way things were for that generation.
Yeah,
and whatnot. You go out and do your work, and you provide for the family and kind of thing. And
true.
There it is. You have food, and you have shelter and clothing.
Yep.
What more do I have to do to show you?
That is love.
So, yeah.
I think we've gotten to a point in history, though, that you would think that we would move beyond, I'm just here to provide for you, and actually, nurture. That's how I feel.
Well,
I'm incredibly old.
No, you're the same age as my husband, honey. You and Dean are the same age.
Well, yeah,
my dad would go out and hunt saber-toothed tigers and whatnot and bring them back to the cave. So,
I see, I can see all sides of it, just because where I grew up is very much like how you grew up. Small town, that small
Deep
town
in a red
mindset.
State,
That small town mindset. Because it just was not something that was really that you did. So yeah, I understand that. And so evolving beyond that, I think, is something that we have to do. And I can understand how Wayne, being still in that small town, staying in that small town, that that's how you stay. So yeah, it is what it is. We'll see if Wayne grows. In
season 3.
In season 3.
Nice segue there, baby.
What will happen? Dun,
What?
Dun, dun.
What?
So Curtis, thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you. So much
you're
fun.
welcome. Thank you for having me.
And
love good conversations like this.
Yes. It was lots of fun, very deep and
I think this is the deepest one maybe that we've done.
So yeah, let's not do that again. Wayne wouldn't have it. He's gonna be a poopy pants.
Well, Wayne, if you're listening, you might want to just go be 10 plus somewhere else, bud.
So Curtis, do you have anything that you'd like to plug before you go? I usually do at the top, and I forgot.
Oh, no.
Okay. All right.
No.
Well, again, thank you for joining us, and we look forward to having you on again at some point as future seasons come through.
Absolutely.
Oh, definitely.
All right.
Yeah.
Well, have a good one then. Take care.
Bye.
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 Thanks for listening to this episode of How Are You Now? If you like us, subscribe and give us a nice review. If you don't, well, we're not for everyone, but we thank you for listening anyway. If you'd like to contact us for any reason, we can be found on Facebook at How Are You Now Podcast. We can also be found on Twitter and Instagram at How Are You Now Pod, and via email at howareyounowpod@gmail.com. We'd like to thank our good friend Jack Rainwater from the Hard Money Saints for allowing us to use their music for our intro and outro. You can find them on Reverb Nation at Hard Money Saints. GUD soon.
It's been too long since baby's been to town. Baby, on a great dog, I promise I'll treat you right. Give you all my money in the daytime and that good loving every night. I said, oh, great dog, burn that freeway down.